Good evening, everyone. Welcome once again to another Up the Dale podcast. Continuing our series of getting special guests in. Today we are, firstly joined by my usual co-host, Mr. David Maguire, Vice Chairman of Walton Dale Cricket Club. Evening, David.
Evening, Neil. Hope everyone's keeping well at this time.
And our special guest is someone a little bit different for us this week. We are joined by Mark Cookson, who is Lancashire Cricket development coach. And Mark has been involved with cricket locally for many, many years. I'll not go much further than many, and at a lot of different levels, and has seen and done and worn a lot of T-shirts. I think it's fair to say. So, Mark, as a kick-off, cricket development coach. It's a bit of a broad description. Just other than the fact that you're obviously furloughed at the moment, talk us through what your role includes generally.
Hi guys, how's everybody doing? Hope everybody's keeping safe. Neil, currently, obviously, like you said, we're furloughed, but what would happen in a normal year, probably 75% of our daily work is coaching in schools under the All Stars and Chance to Shine programs. I'm probably one of the longest servers or deliverers of the Chance to Shine program. So I've been doing it for Lancashire now for about 15 years. I started off in Rochdale, then moved across to the South Ribble area in 2009. So yeah, getting to meet lots of people around the area, but I am from the area, so that wasn't too difficult. Also involved with county age group squads, predominantly under 13s for the last few years, but also involved with all the festivals that Lancashire do. I'm part of CPD. We get involved with county second 11 fixtures, where we go along, and obviously stuff that we can get from them we feed down into county age group stuff. Also, as you two will know, working with local clubs across South Ribble and Chorley, so funding initiatives that clubs may require or any assistance that they need at All Stars and things like that. So yeah, it's quite a wide spectrum of stuff that we do, but predominantly schools delivery, obviously when schools are in.
Just one thing, you have just mentioned one thing there. I know, I'm not giving any secrets away. We did have a little chat before this started, and we said we weren't going to discuss any general cricket. But one thing you have touched on there has come out as of today, which looks like Dynamo's, the new structure for this year, is obviously going to be cancelled, but with the premise that All Stars hopefully is going to carry on. So it's on the one hand, it's a shame that Dynamo's can't happen, but certainly from a Walton Dale point of view, I think it's great that at least we're planning or hoping to have some sort of All-Stars delivery. From your point of view, Mark, obviously you've been very helpful in going into schools and pushing some children our way from an All-Stars point of view. How important do you think it is that something like All-Stars gets that continuation, especially at this time?
Oh, massively important, isn't it? Because if there's no All-Stars, then how are the kids going to be attracted to cricket during this summer? You know, they've missed out on delivery within a school environment from March. So then to go all the way through till September, possibly October, who knows, you know, social distancing, or us as a group of cricket development coaches at Lancashire, the 12 of us, are we going to be getting in schools? Then, yeah, anything that can happen during the summer months will be massive, and again that'll give us something to work towards and work with, promoting around local clubs.
I mean, Dave, we've had that discussion on other podcasts, haven't we, in terms of how much All Stars has benefited us and the pull through from the cricket summer of last year that we hoped would kick into this year. Right. So I mean, Dynamo's is a shame. Don't get me wrong, but I think All Stars, you know, is a massive plus, isn't it?
Yeah. Absolutely, it is. It's something I've mentioned on these podcasts previously, how this year presented such an opportunity for All Stars and Dynamos to build on that momentum and sort of good feeling around the game from the World Cup and the Ashes from last year. And it's such a shame that we've just not been able to build on that in the first half of the summer. And as Mark's explained about All Stars and what we're hoping to do, I just hope that there is something that we can get done. Otherwise, I fear what will happen if it's going to be until 2021 that we can actually get kids out there playing cricket. I think it could be such an opportunity missed, literally a once in a lifetime opportunity.
Yeah. Well, fingers crossed on that one, and let's hope things kick in. So, as we've done with a lot of our other special guests, and as I mentioned, Mark has a plethora of experience both in club cricket and, as he's mentioned, from representative and district cricket and stuff like that. So we're going to draw on Mark's experiences, and Dave's got a few questions based on, as I said, Mark's history in the game, and then I'm going to kick in with a few questions as we've done with the pros and stuff like that, and some dressing room characters. So Dave, over to you, and ask away.
Yeah, so Cookie, we've obviously heard a little bit about what you get up to now in terms of cricket, but if we take you back into the start of the journey and how you got into cricket and your sort of journey through the sport and the previous teams you've played.
Going way back, 1980, 81, primary school. There was actually a hardball competition around South Whibble for the primary schools. And funnily enough, I was tweeting a few messages to a mate of mine today who I got to know from high school. But we actually played against each other in what was called the Jubilee Cup, which was the final of a primary school hardball competition. It was held at Fox Lane. He was playing for Woodley, I was playing for Farrington School, and they beat us in the final. His name's Sean Cross, but I think the main person on that day was a lad called Mark Pallett, plays for Leyland, or did play for Leyland. He just whacked the ball everywhere, even back then, big strong lad and hitting sixes for fun. So that was way back then, and sort of playing on the local park, had pads and gloves and hardball, and then we moved, sort of progressed from playing on a local park with a tree as wickets. We went down to BTR, something you two may have heard of. It's not going anymore. It merged with Leyland Cricket Club in about 2000, I think it was. Took them Leyland and Farrington. That was part of that merger. But I was down there again, just playing, a couple of mates together, and there was a guy came over to us, had a bit of a go at us, thought we were trespassing, and where did we get our equipment from? He thought we'd robbed it from the club. Hope he's doing well. Not seen him for a long time. A guy called Terry Grisdale. Again, anybody around the Palace Shield will know Terry very well. And I just explained it was my own equipment, and he said, "Oh, we've got some cricket training. Do you want to come along?" So that's way back. So for those that don't know, I was 50 in March, so 39 years ago, a long time ago. Yes, that was sort of how I got into cricket. It just developed from there, just playing, just love of the game, I guess.
So was BTR where you had your first match, your first proper cricket day? Can you remember?
So first match I actually played in was for BTR. They didn't have much of a junior section back then, and we played a game at Fulwood and Broughton. And if I let you know, I think Adam Cooper played in the game. I'm not too sure. They were similar sort of age, but because it was our the first game that BTR played, they did let us bat 15, and then the ball was out anyway. Just a 20 over junior game. So yeah, I was skipper. Everybody just had a couple of overs, and first game, like I said, they let 15 of us bat, and they still beat us quite comprehensively.
So when you were making your appearances for BTR, who would you say was your cricketing hero at the time? Who did you look up to?
At BTR, well, the amount of years I was there's quite a few. Some of the older guys, a guy called Ivor Thomas, quick bowler. Because back in them days, I ended up scoring actually for the first 11. So that would have been approximately 1983, something like that. And it was, if I remember rightly, 8 ball overs. So that's going back a while. Neil was probably still in Sheffield or wherever he was back then. And there was a few guys in that team. A guy called Colin Greenall, Graham Porter, some of the early guys that I sort of watched, and Terry Grisdale played in that team. I can't remember if Dave Reese did as well, obviously umpire around the Palace Shield now. Again, I've known Dave a long time. So those sorts of guys that brought us on and helped develop us and, passed on knowledge and experience and stuff like that, yeah.
And in professional cricket, who were your heroes? Who were the England players of the day?
Back then, the England players. Well, to be honest, most of my heroes was in the West Indies team from the 80s. So your Malcolm Marshalls, your Joel Garners. An old mate of mine moved away, but we used to play, as everybody did back then, against Downey's driveway, Test match cricket. We had batted 2 innings each, and obviously you try to emulate the bowlers, so running in with Malcolm Marshall's action or Joe Garner's or whatever. And the garage door was the slick cordon, and if you hit it into next door's garden and stuff. So the West Indies team growing up, but most English fans would probably go both of them around that time as well. But yeah, the 2 or 3 of the players from the West Indies.
So do you have a player of the current era who you like the look of and you would pay to watch?
Well, it's actually playing. No, there's a few, isn't there? I guess top of most people's list would be your Ben Stokes or Josh Butlers, Virat Kohli, people like that. But some of the young lads that are coming through, quite impressed with Don Sibley. Looks solid enough to me. I think he's going to have a good future. Rory Burns, now he's got, obviously his own unique technique, but I suppose Steve Smith has as well. But at the top of that pile, and one of the reasons is because I saw them back in March in New Zealand, but Kane Williamson from New Zealand.
Yeah, definitely. I saw him playing that game at Old Trafford in the World Cup against the West Indies when they were very little for 2, and he just ended up getting I think he got a century that day, and it was just the most serene, calm innings I think I've ever seen, like completely unflustered. Such a good player.
Yeah, he is. I think that's one of the things what I like about him. Like I say, just unflustered, and he just bats, doesn't he? And he can adapt to situations and things like that. So yeah, so I'd put probably he would be the one that I would at the moment pay to go and see without a doubt. Yeah.
So the favourite match you've played in? We ask this to everybody. What's the one that you think about on a cold winter's night that you remember fondly?
I've probably got 2 or 3. One of them was a Chorley midweek game, actually. BTR we played against. Actually, no, it wasn't BTR. It was for ROF, the ROF club, and we played versus Chorley. And there's a guy that batted. He played at Vernon's a while, but did play for BTR as well. I think that was his first one. Martin Baker scored 100.
I know Martin, yeah.
Just to be in and around that game. But back in 2007, there's 2 games that do stick in my mind. I was actually at Chorley at the time. Myself and another guy called Bob Yardley. Somebody I look up. I've just got immense knowledge from Bob. Learned a lot of stuff from Bob Yardley in the short time I was playing at Chorley. And what happened was me and Bob played third team, brought a lot of juniors on. I would bat at 3, Bob would bat at 6. Stand at first and second slip, and all the kids would do everything. They do all the bowling and the fielding, and if need be, if we had a lot of young kids, I might trundle down 5 or 6 overs here and there if need be. But it was 2007, and I remember it was the second round of the quarterfinals of the Crabtree Cup. We played Penn with them away. Bob was on holiday, so it was basically myself and a lot of juniors, and we were struggling. A young lad came in called Stuart Naden, ended up getting 25. I got about 70. And we ended up getting about 160, if I remember rightly, and we bowled really, really well. We ended up winning that game. But moving on from that, we actually then won semi-final, and we moved on to the final, and we beat Vernon's in the final. Bob Yardley got 65, 70 not out. It was a rain-affected game, and to Vernon's credit, as Chorley, we were so far ahead of the game. I think ultimately stemmed from Pete Malloy. Pete mentioned... basically, run rate and whatever. He said, there's no point in us coming back next week. It would be unfair, or, things to that effect. And basically, we won it. We were so far ahead. If it hadn't rained, we'd have won, comfortably.
He had to bring that one up, didn't he?
A little standout thing from that game.
Because I was playing in that game, yes.
Did you?
I think my brother might have played as well.
Yes.
I think your brother did.
Yeah, we won it the year before, and then, and Dave Malloy, I don't know if Dave was captain that day. Obviously, Dave was wicket keeping. Always had this begrudging admiration for Bob after that. It was like Bob was his nemesis after that. So,
right.
yes, Bob
I do know every time I go back, because you'll be aware, Neil, through my connections within the women's game, coaching the women's team when they're at Vernon's, and obviously all the end of season socials. When Tom Bailey turned up, everybody within Vernon Social Club sort of would have a bit of a go and sing a few songs about Bob Yardley. I think Tom Bailey was about 15 or 16 that year.
Yeah.
Bob stuck him to the cleaners. So apparently that's another thing that's mentioned quite a bit down at Vernon's. I never realised you played in that, Neil.
Yeah. That played 2 finals, won 1, lost 1.
I can't remember where somebody ran in from point and kicked the ball and hit the stumps, but I was never run out.
It wouldn't have been me, that's for certain.
Well,
I've never been any good with my feet, so.
Yeah, I can't remember who it was. But yeah, I don't think it was out. But anyway, so yeah, winning them 2 sort of games, because we had such a young team against Penwitham, and I think if I remember right, we were 70 odd for 5 or 6, but ended up getting quite a decent score in 40 over cup game, and then obviously the final. So those 2 games, made it a good all round season.
So the best performance that you've seen in your time in cricket?
Well, that would go back to what I've just mentioned. It was the Chorley midweek, and it was BTR because we did enter a team. ROF I played for, just a group of mates for a few years, but a lot of us was from BTR. But I think if I do remember right, the ground got sold, and did Bolton Wanderers take it over as a training ground? The old ROF.
Yeah.
In Exton. So we did enter a team from BTR, and going back, it was Martin Baker's 100. In a 16-8 ball over game down at Chorley. It was just unbelievable, just the way back. It just timed his innings, perfectly. No rash shots. Everything was down the ground. Played every ball on its merit. It was just, an unbelievable innings.
So just moving it on to sort of your time as a coach rather than a player. Wondered if you could just tell us about the best players that you've seen come through the South Ribble District system.
So overseeing the district team, generally looking after the under 15 in the early part of when I was within South Ribble. Asib Hamed, we faced him a couple of times, again when he's 14, 15 years of age. One of them was actually for South Ribble District. It was down at Vernon's, and it was just head and shoulders above anything I'd ever seen. And obviously I'd heard a lot about him at that time. So when would that have been? 8 years ago or something like that, perhaps. And yeah, he just, similar in a way to the Martin Baker innings, it was just totally in control. But I can't remember, it was a season after that, myself and a colleague of mine, James Cutts, we was looking after an under 16s festival team, regional team, and we had a final at Old Trafford. And again, I remember rightly receiving that game, he just, dictated the scoring, really batted all the way through, got nearly 100 and never looked in any trouble. From a South Ribble point of view, over the last few years, guys that have come through the system, lads and girls, to be honest, both Danny Lamb and Emma Lamb have played South Ribble District 15s, obviously came through the system. Danny came a little bit late, because I think he played Chorley at the younger age group, but then was playing at Leyland, so obviously became eligible for us, for South Ribble. I remember Emma opening the batting for the under 15s. You could tell what a good place it was going to be. Liam Hurt, obviously, so 2 ranked first team players in Danny Lamb and Liam Hurt come through the system, or through the district setup. I think unfortunately district cricket wasn't as it was at the time, but obviously Tom Bailey, with being at Vernon Carras, would have played. I think it was a little bit late as well for Kegsif at Simon Kerrigan. Obviously he was playing at Fulham, but we did merge as a district probably just after Simon had gone through. So I think who else it was. Quite a lot of people, have played county level. James McDonough from Vernon's played quite a high age group at county, never quite made it. James Seward, again, come through the county system, still playing around. Is he still at Formby? I think he's still playing there, but obviously Leyland lads. So there's quite a few players that have come through Leyland, and obviously some of the other clubs around the area as well.
So you mentioned the time you spend with Lancashire second team and academy and things like that. Could you give us sort of like maybe for this year around 2021, I suppose, given the lack of play this year, but one name for us to keep an eye on in terms of a young player coming through the ranks this year and next year?
I would say Liam Hurt. After the injury he sustained back in 2019, I don't know if you saw that. I know it looked horrible when I don't know exact, term, whatever he did to his knee, it wasn't the best. I have seen him since when I was at some of the second 11 games, and he's coming back just as strong as ever. And so hopefully, he can push on and become the player that everybody hopes he will be. Basically, doing a Tom Bailey, another local lad that can get up there.
Yeah. And the last question from me is, if you could just say what the best thing for you as a predominantly junior coach is about seeing young players develop and progress.
Working with players that want to learn, working with players that don't know it all. You do get some players and you try and have conversations with them who they just sort of ignore what you say, carry on doing what they want to do. Having open-minded players that they will take on board and try new things. If it doesn't work, then fine, it doesn't work. Exploring the game, exploring their potential, challenging them, but only obviously knowing if that player does want to be challenged. If they don't, then is there any point working with them? Everybody must strive. I really believe strive to be the best that you can be, and in a challenging situation.
Fair enough. I'll hand over to Neil for some further interrogation.
Thank you very much, Dave. I've got to say, Mark touched on something there which has been one of my mantras and was actually relayed to me by a junior coach when I was playing over in the dark side of the White Rose, and he always said to us as district players, as we were at the time, always play at the highest level that you can do and test yourself against the best players you can do. And so like Mark says, always strive to be your best. I think that's definitely something that younger players should listen to. Talking about,
I remember my early days at Lancashire, working, and it was a festival game. We were at Ormskirk and bumped into Jim Kenyon. A lot of people around the council will know Jim. He actually sat in on my job interview way back when, 15 years ago, and we just got chatting and talking about junior players coming through. And he was saying, and it was one thing that will always stick in my mind, that he told the captain he would never ever be dropped again. He said, "I will put you in a position where you can't drop me again." Because apparently he was dropped from the first team to the second team. And I'll be honest, I can't remember what club it was, but he got dropped. But he vowed he would never be dropped again. Went away, worked his game, scored runs, and basically forced people. So that's something, forced captains to pick him because of what he was doing. And that's something that I do mention to junior players as well. If you want to make it as a cricketer and you're a batter, you've got to score runs. If you don't score runs, you're not going to be picked. So work at your game, work hard, and make them pick you, basically.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. And interesting you mentioned someone like Jim Kenyon, because we're now going to move on to characters. And I know you've said there's plenty of characters you've met over your career, Mark, so I don't think this is going to be a difficult one for you to answer some of these. But these are similar questions to what we've asked everybody who's come on. So in your experience over your many years, who would be that one player who constantly forgets to bring their subs on a match day?
I know you've given me some of these questions previously. I honestly can't remember anybody from that. There must be one somewhere. A guy that played for us. He did actually work in BTR Factory, and he ended up playing for us. A guy called Kenny Moses. I don't know if you ever remember Kenny or not.
Rings a bell. I don't know where from.
Yeah, a little seam baller, the middle order slogger, basically. Kenny was, I would probably put into that bracket.
Excellent. I thought you were going to mention me about being tight with money then, Mark, but you've done well there. You've avoided that one. Well done.
If you want,
some things don't need to be said.
No, some things are fairly standard, aren't they? Right, we'll move on quickly off that one. Who had, in your experience, the worst punctuality? Who would always be the one to arrive late at the ground?
Me.
Oh dear.
Yeah, me. I had a spell when I was getting into coaching, and it worked out that I was doing a milk round in the morning, early hours of the morning, and I had to do a double delivery on a Saturday morning, so I was up and out, and then I'd nip back home and have a sort of an hour's kip, and then so I was always on the last minute getting to a ground, warm-ups were just about to start. So yeah, I'll be honest, I've got to put myself in that bracket. That definitely me, unfortunately. But circumstances at the time.
Understandable, but very, very honest of you, Mark. It's very admirable of you to own up to that one. I'm going to suggest this next one. There might be plenty who fall into this one. Who would be most likely to fall out with an umpire? There's got to be
Remember
somebody.
Terry Drysdale?
All right,
Yeah.
okay.
Terry having a few do's. There was a game at home. Can't remember who it was, but as our bowler was running into ball, he'd pick up the little white disc and chuck it behind the umpire's back just to try and distract the batter. There was a game we played against South Shore. And again, it's going back a long time, probably 84, 85, something like that. I just broke into the second team. And it was straight win-lose. And I can't remember the reasons why he did it, but he declared batting first on about 120 for 2. Now, there was some reason why. I don't know if it's to give them more overs, so because the team we weren't playing, South Shore up against somebody points-wise. I can't remember exactly why he did it, but yeah, so Terry was one for sort of little niggles like that. Somebody that you both may know reasonably well, or quite well, actually. Mad Mick Brown.
Yeah, we know Brownie.
Brownie was at BTR for a while. I actually missed the season because I broke my leg playing 7-a-side football with my mates. And during that season, that was when Kenny Moses and Mick Brown, another guy called Pete Smith, so some lads from the Preston area sort of joined. I know Mick was more Chorley, but yeah, Mick was quite a fiery character, as probably still is. I haven't seen him for a year or two, to be honest.
Yeah.
Used to bump into him quite regularly. Martin Baker would obviously have a word with umpires. Wasn't backwards at coming forwards. So yeah, we'll put those 3 up there.
Fair enough. And Brownie, I could completely concur. After playing with Brownie for many years, he's lovely bloke off the pitch, but very, very competitive on it, and never short of a word or two. That's for certain. Right.
Yeah, there's another guy called Ray Devitt, Mad Dog Devitt. I think he broke his arm or his elbow. He'd done something. He physically couldn't bowl with a straight arm, but it was sort of bent all the way through. You're playing second team cricket. It wasn't a throw. There was no straighting or bending. It was physically, that's how his arm was. And the amount of times arguing with umpires, because 1 or 2 umpires called him. I think there's probably going to be a theme running here that they're all ballers. Just thought of another one as well. Jimmy Miller. Everybody in the Palace Shield will know Jimmy. It was a BAE or English Electric, BAE Preston stalwart, and then latter end of his career he came to BTR. He was fiery as well. But again, fast ballers, you see.
Yeah.
For those that don't know, if I can picture it, he looks a little bit like Douglas Hurd.
Okay.
To be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's face it. I mean, bowlers, we're never happy when we don't get a decision go our way, are we? So it's not surprising that a lot of these are bowlers, in all honesty. I'm going to move on to one now, which we all tend to enjoy our tea breaks. But who, from your experience, loves sitting down for their tea the most?
Now, again, I would have to say me. If any of my work colleagues see this, there's a few stories going around of festival games where I've gone to the tea ladies at various grounds and got bacon butties in for everybody. And a game at Radcliffe where, obviously, at the end of tea back in the day, they put all the spare sandwiches on a silver tray, on a tray, wouldn't they? So basically, I didn't get a plate. I just went and picked up the silver tray and sat down. But that was more as a coach than as a player. Guy for again BTR, I liked his tea. A guy called Paul Kirk. I don't know if you know Kirky or not.
No, I don't think so.
Again, Neil, probably might have been before your time being across this way, but he liked a good feast in between innings.
Excellent. Last one from me. Who, out of your experience, would be the person you'd least like to have to be stuck in lockdown with? Somebody potentially who, let's say, don't keep still or has any annoying habits or things like that, really.
Well, I think I get on with most people, if not everybody. I guess it would have to be a guy called Mark Moffat. Played at BTR.
Yeah.
Because I was, like I said, 11 years of age when I started playing, but scoring. I was secretary at 17, and I'd have just stayed at BTR basically. But yeah, Mark, he would just never shut up. He would just talk and talk and talk and talk. Oh, he does more talking. You know Dave Swanton?
Yeah.
You know Swanee?
Yeah.
More talking than Swanee.
Oh, God.
Yeah, he could, as they say, talk the hind legs of a donkey.
Excellent. Well, that's all my questions. Mark, we've got to thank you for coming on. It's great to get a different slant, and we've had the pros on, we've had some of our club members on. What we're looking to do now is open it up to other people within local cricket who have different stories to tell, and certainly you've got, as I say, different club experience and also this coaching experience. I think if we can just finish off with what are your hopes for the rest of this season, really? What would you like to see happen from here on in?
Purely for 2020 is to get some cricket played. Only those at the top will know all the ins and outs and the discussions, and you go onto social media and everybody's got their own point of view. But I have no doubt that at some stage cricket will be played. Now, teams and players are going to have to be adaptable, and just take it as it is. And I don't know, it may be small groups of 5 and just play on a round robin basis. I have seen the information that Palace Shield have put out, teams that want to play and seeding teams and potential for teams that play in other leagues but are local to sort of come into that. I have no doubt that some cricket will be played. I can't believe, deep down, I can't believe that it's just because of the ball, the vector at the moment.
Vector of disease.
I do understand, but I was having a discussion today with somebody, and they said, but if you think about it, from a point of view that if you're doing training as we are now, so some clubs will have 6 for an hour, then another 6 for another hour. If they're all down on, and then another 6 for another, so you got 18 players down on one evening, and somebody does catch coronavirus, then how would that then affect selection for that weekend? Because people having to be in lockdown and quarantine and all that sort of stuff. But I have no doubt that cricket will be played this year, and I can see it being in a few weeks, to be honest. I haven't heard anything through work or anything like that. Just my own personal point of view, my thoughts on. We will have some cricket, and we just need to be adaptable to whatever cricket that is that we get. Hopefully, we'll get some junior cricket as well.
Yeah.
So obviously, we won't have the non-availability because majority of people won't be going away.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's, hopefully people can be flexible, because decisions will be made. It'll be like, let's play it. We'll start in a week or whenever.
Yeah.
It won't be, let's start in 4 weeks, will it? So clubs are ready. I've been to 1 or 2 clubs over the last week or 2. Facilities are ready to get there. So yeah, I definitely believe some form of cricket will happen quite soon.
Good. Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree more on that. I think we all feel that if we can get something done, it'll benefit everybody. So as you say, fingers crossed for that. So once again, Mark, many thanks for coming on. Really appreciate it. Hopefully have more characters on soon and more local cricket tales to tell. Thanks everybody for watching. It's been another good one of Up the Dale, and again, keep an eye out for more things coming soon. And thanks for watching once again, and we'll see you all soon.